Everyone has read many imaginative texts about modern people traveling to the Three Kingdoms. Do you want to see what strange stories would happen if ancient people traveled to the Three Kingdoms? Yes, what is the origin of a talented individual from an even older era than the Three Kingdoms period? Can he help Liu Bei achieve great success? Can Liu Bei and weak Xu change their destiny against the heavens? Let's wait and see. In vernacular and classical Chinese, there are no golden fingers or inventions that surpass the times. Only the collision of cold weapons and the confrontation of strategic strategies. The writing style strives to be as close as possible to the original work of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, hoping that everyone will enjoy it. Chapter 1. Liu Bei conquers Yuan and encounters strange people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the late Eastern Han Dynasty, disasters never ceased. There is a yellow scarf uprising outside, and eunuchs are manipulating power inside. Later, there was a national thief named Dong Zhuo who entered the capital and acted recklessly, poisoning the imperial family and causing debauchery in the palace. At that time, there was a person from Qiao County, Pegua, surnamed Chao and named Chao, with the courtesy name Mengda. He served as the commander of the Han cavalry and participated in the suppression of the Yellow Turban bandits. Later, seeing that Dong Zhuo was causing chaos in the country, he scattered all his wealth and gathered 18 feudal lords to rise up and attack Dong. However, due to the centrifugation of the feudal lords, each harbored evil intentions and failed to defeat Dong. The coalition army then dispersed birds and beasts. So Cao Cao led his troops to Yenzhou and rested. By the year 196 AD, in the first year of the Jianan reign of the Han dynasty, Cao Cao had broken through the remnants of the Yellow Turban Rebellion in Yenzhou, collecting countless soldiers and increasing their strength. At that time, the national thief Dong Zhuo had already died, and the emperor of Han, Han Xian, was also kidnapped by the remnants of Dong Zhuo's party, Li Ju and Guasi. Suddenly, Li Yan and Guasi started a dispute and led their troops towards each other. Emperor Xian was escorted by Dong Cheng and Yang Feng and fled to Luoyang. Upon hearing this, Cao Cao was overjoyed and sent a large army to repel Li and Gua, welcoming Emperor Xian to Xuchang and taking the emperor hostage to command the feudal lords. From then on, the army became even stronger. The major matter was decided, and Cao Cao gathered a group of advisors to discuss. He said, "Previously, Liu Bu was defeated by me and fled to Xuzhou, relying on Liu Bei. Now that Liu Bei is guarding Xuzhou, Liu Bu is stationed in Xiaopei, and they are each other's horns. What do the lords think?" The advisor Sun Yu advised, "Liu Bu is the fierce tiger of the world, Liu Bei is the great hero of the world. If these two people jointly occupy Xuzhou for a long time, they will inevitably become a major disaster. If we do not use the strategy of driving out tigers and swallowing wolves to cause internal turmoil between Liu and Liu," Cao said, "I hope to hear more about it." Sun Yu said, "Your lord, please." Firstly, according to the imperial edict, Liu Bei was ordered to rise up and attack Yuan Shu, and Liu Bei must obey the order. Yuan Shu was powerful and urgent, so he could not go down in time. Liu Bei's army lasted for a long time, and Xuzhou was empty. Lv Bu would inevitably have different intentions, so there would be changes in Xuzhou and major events could be achieved. Cao was overjoyed and followed the plan. It can be said that at this time, he served as a shepherd in Xuzhou, with the surname Liu and the name Bei, and the courtesy name Xuande. He was the great-grandson of Emperor Jing of Han and the descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan, Liu Sheng. Liu Bei has always had great ambitions and a broad mind, often taking it as his responsibility to support the Han and save the world. In times of chaos, bandits rose up everywhere. Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei formed brothers with different surnames and rose up to fight against the thieves. Breaking the Yellow Turban, resisting Dong Zhuo, beheading Hua Xiong, and fighting against Liu Bu, they shook the world and became known to the world as Liu, Guan, and Zhang. It is said that Liu Bei was appointed as the governor of Xuzhou by the imperial court. He was about to express his gratitude to the emperor when he heard that an angel had arrived again. It was said that Yuan Shu had a heart of disobedience, and His Majesty ordered Liu Bei to send troops to suppress him. Liu Bei led the order and ordered his third brother Zhang Fei to guard Xuzhou. He personally led a large army and, together with his second brother Guan, advanced towards Huaiyin, the territory of Yuan Shu. It was night when the army had just left Xuzhou when they suddenly heard someone outside the tent seeking to see them. Liu Bei ordered someone to enter the account. I saw a young man with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a tall figure, wielding a sword and bowing his hand to pay his respects. When Guan was by his side, he saw the person who came with an impressive appearance, majestic demeanor, and a strong general's demeanor. He didn't know the purpose of his arrival, so he clenched his sword to prevent any unexpected events. Liu Bei asked, "Who is the person under your feet?" The person who came said, "I am a person from Huaiyin, surnamed Xian and named Han. I heard that the general has launched an attack on Yuan Shu, and there is an important matter that needs to be discussed with the general. Therefore, I came to meet him." Liu Bei asked, "What is the matter?" Xian Han said, "General, do you know that this is Cao Cao's plan to drive out tigers and swallow wolves?" Liu Bei remained silent and asked, "What is the plan to drive out tigers and swallow wolves?" Xian Han replied, "Cao Cao is afraid that General and Lv Bu will jointly occupy Xuzhou, and if time is certain, it will become a major disaster. Therefore, he pretended to be the emperor's decree and ordered the general to attack Yuan Shu. The general led a great deal. If the army sets out for battle, Xuzhou will be empty. Lv Bu is also a person who lacks faith and righteousness. He will take advantage of this opportunity to attack Xuzhou, and if the general loses the root cause, what should he do?" Liu Bei pondered for a moment and said, "What should we do with our intentions?" Xian Han said, "I heard that when the imperial court appointed the general as the governor of Xuzhou the day before yesterday, there was a secret letter ordering the general to attack and kill Lv Bu. However, the general not only refused, but also regarded this letter with Lv Bu in order to repair the two armies. Is this possible?" Liu Bei was slightly surprised and said, "I know a lot." Xian Han smiled and said, "If we don't know the news from all directions while marching in battle, it's like we can't see or hear. How can we win?" Liu Bei heard these words and knew that Xian Han must not be an ordinary person. He respected him deeply and said, "The previous secret letter was a private letter from Cao Cao. Although today's edict is known to be Cao Cao's plan, after all, the king's order cannot be violated, and we must follow it." He then stood up and arched his hand, saying, "Bei is now in a dilemma. How should we act? I hope you can give me guidance." Seeing Liu Bei's solemn words, Xian Han put a smile on his face and asked, "Is Zhang Fei, the third general, the one guarding Xuzhou at this time?" Liu Bei said, "Of course." Xian Han said, "If the third general is brave, he will be brave. But first, he drinks well, second, he is irritable, and third, he refuses to listen to people's advice. He orders him to guard Xuzhou, fearing that he may lose something." Guan was displeased with these words and was about to erupt, but Liu Bei stopped with a look. Xian Han remained unaware and continued, "Why not let General Guan guard it?" Liu Bei said, "I will discuss military affairs with Yun Chang sooner or later." Xian Han smiled and said, "There is a wise strategist in Xuzhou, why don't you invite him to help us, discuss with the army, and jointly attack Yuan Shu?" Liu Bei asked, "Who?" Xian Han said, Gong Tai." Guan chuckled and said, "Your mistake is so great. Gong is a strategist of Lv Bu, and he is still in Xiaopei. How would you be willing to follow our army on the expedition? Could it be that the Chen palace was used as a pawn and kept in our army, so that Lv Bu wouldn't dare to act recklessly?" Xian Han shook his head and said, "No, Lv Bu is an untrustworthy and unjust person. How would he abandon violence and favor for the sake of a Chen palace? Liu Bei said, "Can you say that he helped me attack Yuan?" Xian Han shook his head again and said, "No, Chen Palace is the most trustworthy person. When he finds out that the general is leading a large army to attack Xuzhou and Xuzhou is empty, he must design to help Lv Bu take Xuzhou. How would he help the general break Yuan Shu?" Guan Yu was angry and said, "This is not it, that is not it. The kid wants to do it. Playing with me." After saying that, Liu Bei drew his sword and wanted to kill Xian Han. He grabbed Guan Yu. Su Xinhan said, "What exactly does your foot mean? Please explain in detail." "I don't know what Xian Han's intention is, but let me explain it in the next chapter." Chapter 2. Guan Yu's sword showcases divine power. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. When Xian Han saw Guan Yu draw his sword, he laughed and said, "I heard General Guan's green dragon Yan Yu blade, which is like chopping melons and vegetables in the midst of 10,000 armies. I will definitely see the general's style in the future." Upon hearing this, Guan Yu's anger calmed down a bit, and Xian Han said, "But when it comes to wielding swords, it's probably not the general's skill." Guan Yu became furious and shouted, "Come and come. Guan and you go outside the tent and fight for 300 rounds. Guan doesn't need the green dragon Yan Yu blade, so he'll use his waist sword to kill you." Liu Bei repeatedly stopped. Xian Han arched his hand and said, "General Xuande, I rashly requested to see you this time, and what I said is a confidential and important matter. If I cannot convince General Guan, I'm afraid General Xuande will also find it hard to listen to me. Why don't I have a high-level meeting with General Guan outside the tent to show my skills before discussing with him?" Liu Bei was about to say, "Why is this so?" He then thought to himself, "Indeed, this son's origin is unknown, and what he said is not clear. Let's see what he really wants and then make a decision." So he asked, "What exactly are your plans?" Xian Han smiled and said, "I can't say for sure, let's divide the outcome between General Guan and me first." Guan Yu said, "Big brother, don't stop me anymore. Let me teach this son a lesson. I will show mercy and save his life." Liu Bei hurriedly said, "That's right. Don't hurt a good person by mistake." Guan Yu agreed and walked out of the tent. Xian Han also turned around and went out, standing opposite Guan Yu on the open ground. Let's talk about Liu Bei, a sworn second brother with the surname Guan and the name Yu, and the courtesy name Yunchang. He had a face as heavy as a jujube, long beards, and a belly. Many soldiers and civilians were known as the Duke of Beautiful Beads. He was born very tall and sturdy, even taller than Xian Han by a foot. Standing under the moonlight, the wind blew his robe and his long beard fluttered, like a heavenly god. Upon seeing this, Xian Han couldn't help but praise, "General Guan is indeed very imposing." Guan Yu laughed heartily. "General Xiao is indeed very timid. Be careful, Guan is also here." With a long roar, his sword was unsheathed and he pounced at Xian Han like a fierce tiger. Xian Han was greatly surprised and saw that Guan Yu's momentum was both fierce and fast, and he couldn't draw his sword. He quickly dodged to the side. Turning around and about to draw his sword, Guan Yu had already turned around and wielded his sword to strike. Xian Han quickly jumped back and dodged a blow. "I wanted to draw my sword again, but I didn't want Guan Yu to be incredibly agile despite his large size. With just one strike, he couldn't wait to the end and had already jumped forward, stabbing and stabbing." Xian Han was shocked and pale. He saw that Guan Yu's sword tip was in front of him, and there was no time to draw it again. He could only dodge to the side and avoid the tip. Fearing that Guan Yu might strike with a horizontal sword, he rolled on the ground and rolled out a few yards. Although in a state of embarrassment, he managed to dodge Guan Yu's repeated attacks and was shocked to the point of sweating profusely and panting heavily. The onlookers cheered loudly when they saw Guan Yu's immense power. Amidst cheers, Guan Yu withdrew his sword and stood still, smiling as he asked, "Why hasn't General drawn his sword yet?" Liu Bei saw Guan Yu wielding 3 consecutive swords, which were incredibly sharp and aimed directly at the vital points of Xian Han. He intended to speak out and stop, but how could he have made it so urgently? But seeing Xian Han dodge 3 swords in a row, although in a state of embarrassment, he was unharmed after all. He felt a little relieved and couldn't help but marvel. There were very few people in the world who could dodge Yun Chang's 3 swords, and this son was truly extraordinary. He wanted to speak up and stop the 2 of them. But seeing Xian Han stand up and draw his sword in his hand, he said, "General Guan is truly invincible." In an instant, he drew 3 swords in a row, forcing someone to not even draw their swords. If he were on the battlefield, someone would have died several times. But this time is not a fight, so he begged me to draw my sword and asked the general for a few more moves. Guan Yu saw that although Xian Han was not defeated, he still remained humble and dignified, and couldn't help but admire him. He laughed and said, "It suits my taste." After speaking, he thrust his sword forward, and Xian Han also thrust his sword at each other. The swords intersected with a loud, choking sound, and Xian Han secretly exclaimed, "Not good." He felt his arms tingling and his tiger's mouth cracking. Guan Yu's sword strength far exceeded Xian Han's expectations. Seeing that Guan Yu's sword did not lose momentum after intersecting, it continued to run towards Xian Han's chest. The sword of Xian Han had already been bounced off when the swords intersected. As he was about to be pierced through his chest, Xian Han gritted his teeth and swung his arm, then quickly swung his sword to strike Guan Yu's sword. The swords intersected twice and made a loud noise. However, Xian Han's sword was shaken and flew out of his hand, while Guan Yu's sword remained strong and was about to break through his chest with a thunderous force. Xian Han was so scared that his face turned pale. Unexpectedly, Guan Yu's swordsmanship was superb and he could easily retract and release it. As he was about to pierce through Xian Han's skin and flesh, he suddenly stopped. Xian Han felt a gust of wind blowing in his face, unable to see. After a moment, when he opened his eyes, Guan Yu had withdrawn his sword and retreated a few steps away. The onlookers cheered again. Guan Yu said, "General, your swordsmanship is already extraordinary. If it were someone else, the sword in your hand would have already flown out the first time it intersected, so there would be no chance to swing a second sword. But you are not an enemy of Guan. What are you up to when you come here tonight? Speak up quickly, and you must not continue to be mysterious." Liu Bei bowed beside him and said, "Just now, I heard what you said, and I know that you have extraordinary intelligence. I also saw that you have exceptional swordsmanship when fighting against Yun Chang. You are satisfied with your skills. You are a person who can both be civil and military. If you are willing to help me, I should serve you as a teacher." At this moment, Xian Han had regained his composure. Seeing Liu Bei's sincere words, he hurriedly bowed back and said, "I am an unnamed boy who is going to argue with General Xuande about something very important. I am afraid General Xuande will not listen to me, so I used words to provoke General Guan and fought with General Guan with a heart of death. All I wanted to do was show my sincerity to General Xuande. Now that I have the general's trust, how dare I have any more excuses? General Xuande wants to break Cao Cao's plan of driving away tigers and swallowing wolves, and he will listen to someone's detailed explanation. I don't know if Xian Han has a good plan, but let's hear about it in the next section." Chapter 3. Xuande Xiaopei borrows Chen Palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xian Han, Liu Bei, and Guan Yu re-entered the tent and said, "To break the current situation, the general must first send more scouts to inquire about various news." Liu Bei said, "Before the uprising, scouts have been sent to Xuan to inquire about Yuan Shu's movements, and there will be news soon." Xian Han said, "Great. The general also needs to send people to pay attention to the movements of the soldiers in Xuzhou." Liu Bei furrowed his brow slightly, and before he could speak, Guan Yu asked in a deep voice, "What do you mean?" Xian Han said, "The general is new in charge of Xuzhou, and many of the generals in the city have old officials of Xuzhou. Now that the war is approaching, there are strong enemies surrounding Xuzhou. It's difficult to ensure everyone's unity, we need to guard against internal strife. Beware of his words." Xian Han said again, "When news of Sichuan and Xuzhou arrives, the general can go to Xiaopei and borrow the Chen palace from Lv Bu to join the army in the fight against Yuan Shu." Guan Yu said, "In this way, Lv Bu will know that our army is on an expedition and Xuzhou is empty." Xian Han laughed and said, "The army is going on an expedition, vast and vast, with many people and diverse eyes. How can we deceive the world? If we don't proactively inform Lv Bu and Chen Palace, and then Lv Bu will have no ulterior motives. If he has any ulterior motives, he will be captured by the general." Guan Yu chuckled and said, "It's so wonderful." Liu Bei also laughed loudly. Hi. So the next day, Liu Bei led a large army to slowly march and gather information from all sides every day. Xian Han officially joined under Liu Bei's command, discussing military tactics day and night with Liu Bei, and also sought advice on martial arts from Guan Yu. Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and the soldiers in the army all admired Xian Han for his profound understanding of military strategy and exceptional martial arts skills. Although he was young, he had extraordinary aspirations and treated people with humility and courtesy. They were all known as little generals. Not long after, news came that Qiao Bao, the former general of Xuzhou, was the father-in-law of Lv Bu and had a close relationship with Bu, with frequent correspondence. Guan Yu said, "In an extraordinary period, this person must be on guard." There is also news from Sichuan. Cao has sent someone to inform Yuan Shu that Liu Bei has expressed his unwillingness to rebel and intends to launch an attack. Yuan Shu was furious and sent General Ling to lead 100,000 soldiers towards Xuzhou. Yuan Shu sent people to Xiaopei, and Su Lubu ordered them to attack Xuzhou with provisions and military horses. He first cut off Liu Bei's retreat, and then sent troops to attack Liu Bei's rear, flanking Ling in an attempt to annihilate Liu Bei in one fell swoop. After hearing this, Guan Yu cursed loudly, Cao's traitor. Yuan Shu Pei. Liu Bei said to Xian Han, "If it weren't for the little general, Bei wouldn't have known that the situation was so dangerous." Xian Han said, "It's okay, we should act quickly according to the plan." Liu Bei and Guan Yu nodded and said yes. The next day, Liu Bei ordered General Mi Fang to return to Xuzhou to defend the city, replace Zhang Fei in the army, and lead the army slowly forward with Guan Yu. I took several riders and headed towards Xiaopei. Moreover, at this time, General Lv Buja, also known as Feng Xian, was a fierce general of the time with few opponents. Starting from Dingyuan, he was later lured by Dongzhuo with a red rabbit and BMW, and then killed Dingyuan and returned to Dongzhuo. He was lured by Wang Yun with a peerless beauty, Jiao Chan, and killed Dongzhuo, returning to Wang Yun. Later Wang Yun was killed by Li Ju and Guosi, former subordinates of Dongzhuo. Lv Bu wandered around, and various feudal lords refused to take him in due to his fickleness, lack of trust and righteousness. Coincidentally, Cao sent troops to attack Tao Qian, leaving the rear empty. Liu Bu took the opportunity to attack his stronghold of Yanzhou. Cao's troops defeated Liu Bu, and Liu Bu came to Xuzhou to seek refuge with Liu Bei. At that time, Guan, Zhang, and all the soldiers advised Liu Bei not to accept it. However, Liu Bei was ultimately benevolent and righteous, so he ordered Lv Bu to station troops in Xiaopei and rely on each other in Xuzhou. At this moment, Lv Bu heard that Liu Bei had come to see him and quickly invited him in. Liu Beidao said, "I have been ordered by your majesty to raise an army to attack Yuan Shu. Due to his great power, I am afraid it will be difficult to win for a while. Now I have two things to ask for the help of the former general. Liu Bei asked, I don't know what's going on. Liu Bei said, first, Guan and Zhang, the two wise brothers, all went on an expedition with me. Currently, only Mi Fang led 3,000 old and weak soldiers to defend Xuzhou city. If there is any change in Xuzhou in the future, I hope the general can send troops to rescue him, waiting for Bei to lead troops to return. Liu Bei replied, this is inevitable. Liu Bei also said, secondly, I have always respected Mr. Gong for his exceptional intelligence and intelligence. I dare to borrow Mr. Gong from the general and follow me on the expedition to plan military strategy. Chen Gong quickly arched his hand and said, thanks to the kindness of Duke Xuande, I dare not disobey. And Rong and General Lv have agreed on the size of the city, so he went to meet with Duke Xuande in the army. Liu Bei stood up to thank him and returned to the army. Liu Bei relied on his military prowess and said to Chen Gong after Liu Bei left, Sir, pack up and go with Liu Bei. With my Fang Tianji and the Red Rabbit horse under my crotch, I will definitely be able to protect Xiaopei and Xuzhou. Chen Gong said, Xiaopei was not a place to live for a long time. There is a gap to take advantage of in Xuzhou today. Liu Bei was overjoyed and asked, how can I take it? Chen Gong said, I will go to Liu Bei's army first to avoid suspicion. Feng Xian can send people to inquire about the situation in Xuzhou and see if it is really as Liu Bei said, only me is. Feng and 3,000 old and weak soldiers will defend the city. I will also send people to report the movements of the front at any time. When Liu Bei and Yuan Shu's armies are facing off and anxious, Feng Xian can lead the troops to attack Xuzhou with one go. Lv Bei smiled and said, that's great. Chen Gong said again, but I have one thing unclear. Although Liu Bei is kind and not good at using strategies, he is not a foolish person. How could he tell us all about Xuzhou? Is there any fraud? Lv Bei said, it doesn't matter. My father Lao Chao Bao is currently in Xuzhou city, and I called him to ask. That's great, Chen Gong said. First of all, remember. It is necessary to investigate the reality of Xuzhou city and wait for Yuan and Liu to go to war before attacking Xuzhou. Don't be impatient, remember. Liu Bei felt annoyed and said, Sir, go on your own. Bei has his own decision. So Chen Gong packed up and went to Liu Bei's army with a few followers. I don't know how Lv Bei attacked Xuzhou and how Liu Bei responded, but let's hear the next breakdown. Chapter 4. Liu Bei's night attack on Xuzhou city. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. But it was said that after Liu Bei met with Chen Gong, he divided the army into 3 routes, with Guan Zhang stationed on the left and right, and himself in the center. He slowly rose up and marched. Under the pretext of discussing military aircraft, he stayed with Chen Palace day and night, eating and living together, traveling on horseback, sleeping in the same tent, and staying on both sides for a moment. From then on, Chen Gong and his followers were unable to meet, and there was no communication. Chen Gong was secretly anxious, knowing that big things were not going well, but he was helpless. Speaking of Lv Bei, after Chen Gong left, he called Chao Bao to inquire about the situation in Xuzhou in detail. Chao Bao spoke without hesitation and said, the 3 brothers Liu Bei have mobilized all the troops from Xuzhou to attack Yuan Shu. Currently, there are only 3,000 soldiers and horses in the city, led by Mi Fang. Upon hearing this, Lv Bei was overjoyed and invited Chao Bao to serve as an insider. Tonight, he planned to visit Xuzhou and said, Mi Fang's incompetent generation has ears, and Xuzhou is within reach. When I take over the city, I will treat my benefactor generously. At times, Zhang Liao, the deputy general of Liu Bei, was present. Zhang Liao is a person with a profound literary style, skilled in martial arts, and a bold demeanor. He is also the most cautious in his character. Upon hearing that Lv Bei was about to take Xuzhou, Zhang Liao said, Mr. Gong Tai once said before leaving the city that we should not use military force recklessly without receiving a report on the front line. Please be cautious, General. Xiao Bao said, it doesn't matter. If you arrive at the bottom of the city tonight, you can set fire as a signal, and I will open the city gate and let you enter. As long as you kill Mi Fang, Xuzhou can be attacked in one fell swoop. Zhang Liao said, although this plan is good, I think we need to wait until the battle between Yuan and Liu in front starts before attacking Xuzhou. Lv Bu was displeased and said, wait a moment, wait until Liu Bei returns. It's too late to regret missing a good opportunity in the city. During the business discussion, a messenger from Yuan Shu came to report to both sides. Liu Bu ordered him to enter, and the envoy said, my highway general is willing to offer 50,000 koku of grain, 500 horses, 10,000 taels of gold and silver, and 1,000 pieces of colorful satin. I ask Liu Bu to take advantage of the emptiness in the city and first take Xuzhou to cut off Liu Bei's retreat. Then he will send troops to attack Liu Bei's back and together with General Ji Ling, they will strike back and forth, so that Liu Bei can be annihilated in one fell swoop. Liu Bu, a person who saw the benefits and forgot his righteousness, was overjoyed and agreed. He ordered Xiao Bao to quickly return to Xuzhou to prepare, and agreed to set fire as a signal to attack the city that night. At night, Lv Bu wanted to lead 500 light cavalry ahead and ordered Zhang Liao to lead a large army to receive him from behind, while Gao Shun defended Xiaopei. Zhang Liao advised again, I am willing to lead an army to attack Xuzhou, and I would like the general to lead a large army to defend Xiaopei. If Xuzhou is not captured in time, we still have a way out. Liu Bu was furious and said, you have repeatedly blocked my troops, slowing down my morale and disrupting my military morale. What is your intention? Do you think it's that big-eared thief who is trying to benefit Su'er? Zhang Liao was stunned and didn't know how to respond for a moment. The other soldiers all said, when Yuan is equally loyal and righteous. I hope you don't doubt me, General. Liu Bu angrily said, since that's the case, you can defend the city at home, and Gao Shun will lead the army to take over. Let's see how I can take Xuzhou. After speaking, Liu Bu led 500 light cavalry to Xuzhou. Upon arriving at the outskirts of the city, Liu Bu ordered his soldiers to raise torches and shout, the secret envoy of Xuande is here, open the city gate quickly. A person turned out from the city, and it was Xuzhou's governor Mi Fang who said, is this General Liu below the city? General Liu is not in Xiaopei, why are you coming to Xuzhou late at night? Liu Bu said, open the city gate now, and I will talk to you inside the city. Mi Fang said, it's not convenient to open the city at night. Please return to Xiaopei first, and discuss something tomorrow. Liu Bu became anxious and shouted, where is Xiao Bao? Mi Fang said. Xiao Bao colluded with external enemies and had ulterior motives, and has been beheaded. His head is here. After speaking, he threw a human head into the city, and Lv Bu saw it as Xiao Bao. Liu Bu was furious and shouted loudly, when I break through the city, I will surely break down countless corpses. After that, he sent someone to urge Gao Shun's army to come quickly with siege equipment. Suddenly, a banging sound was heard, and a group of soldiers and horses were killed on both sides outside the city of Xuzhou. The leader on the left, with long beards and a majestic aura, is like a heavenly deity descending to earth. It is Guan Yunchang. On the right is the chief general, with a leopard head and eyes, a swallow's beak and a tiger beard. His voice is like thunder and his momentum is like a galloping horse. He holds a Zhangba snake spear, which is Zhang Fei, the third brother of Liu Bei. Zhang Fei shouted at Lv Bu, 3 surnames of domestic slaves, repeated villains. My brother kindly borrowed Xiaopei to station troops in Xuzhou, why did you come to seek me again? I can't say, today I will pierce 3,000 transparent holes. Lv Bu also angrily said, ring-eyed thief. I have been humiliated too much. He stood up with Fang Tianji and fought with Zhang Fei. Before a few moments had passed, Guan Yu had already arrived on horseback. Liu Bei fought fiercely against General Guan and General Zhang, gradually exhausting his strength. However, he saw that his cavalry had been scattered and he dared not fight for long. He sold a loophole and used the weapons of General Zhang and General Zhang to lead dozens of cavalry to escape towards Xiaopei. Before reaching Xiaopei, he saw Gao Shun leading a defeated army in a state of embarrassment. Originally, Gao Shun walked out of Xiaopei halfway when suddenly a group of people and horses from the rear came to kill him. The leading general was Liu Bei. Gao Shun had no time to return to the army to resist and could not retreat to Xiaopei, so he had to lead his army to flee towards Xuzhou. Along the way, he met Liu Bei. The two of them joined forces at a planned location when Liu, Guan, and Zhang each led their troops to kill and surrounded Liu Bei. Just as he was about to fight, Liu Bei's army sergeant shouted, "Xuzhou and Xiaopei are from the same root, why do they kill each other? Liu Bei is a shameless villain, you must not assist him in attacking and killing his fellow villagers. Xuzhou's army of benevolence and righteousness, do not kill those who surrender." Such a cloud. Many of the newly recruited soldiers in Liu Bei's army were led by Xiaopei. Upon hearing this, they all laid down their weapons, and in an instant, most of them surrendered. Liu Bei was shocked and eager to escape, but Liu, Guan, and Zhang had already gathered around. Previously, Liu Bei and Zhang Erjiang were already defeated, but now with the addition of Liu Bei, the situation is even more dangerous. Suddenly someone shouted, "General Xuande, don't be soft-hearted. If you leave without Liu Bei this time, you will have endless troubles." Liu Bei originally admired Liu Bei's excellent martial arts skills and couldn't bear to die. Upon hearing this, he gritted his teeth and said, "Well, please don't blame me for being ruthless. This is the end of the matter. If you don't kill me today, I will be harmed by you in the future." Both Guan and Zhang said, "That's right." After that, the three of them started to learn their own skills and fought hard, but Liu Bei was invincible. I don't know what happened to Liu Bei's life, but let me explain it in the next chapter. Chapter 5. Xin Han's design for capturing Liu Bei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It is said that Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei surrounded Liu Bei in groups, using what they had learned in their lifetime and vowing to take his life. Liu Bei felt that Liu, Guan, and Zhang were like three big mountains, killing him like wildfire. Suddenly exhausted from resistance, there was no more momentum for counterattack. He wanted to escape, but couldn't break through the encirclement. He was in a great hurry and shouted to Liu Bei, "Xuande, everyone calls you a benevolent and righteous gentleman. Today, will you bully me with more and swear to kill me?" Liu Bei remained silent, slightly moved, but heard someone behind him shout, "Lord, don't be soft-hearted. If it weren't for Liu Bei's attack on my city today, how could it be like this? Moreover, Liu Bei's bravery is invincible in the world. If he's not eliminated today, there will be no good opportunity in the future." The speaker was Xin Han. Originally, Xin Han knew that during the battle between the three heroes of Hulao Pass and Liu Bei in the past, General Guan and Zhang could have killed Liu Bei with force. However, Liu Bei cherished Liu Bei's martial arts skills and couldn't bear to kill him easily. Therefore, he joined the battle group to secretly help Liu Bei escape. Xin Han also knew that Liu Bei was fickle and had the ambition to covet the world. He must not stay below the people for a long time. If Liu Bei is not removed today, he will suffer in the future. So Xin Han followed closely behind Liu Bei and repeatedly reminded him. But Liu Bei, surrounded by generals Liu, Guan, and Zhang, listened attentively and carefully, angrily scolded Xin Han, "Yellow-mouthed child, it turned out that you instigated trouble. Today, I swear to dismember you in countless pieces." After speaking, he suddenly opened Guan Gong's big sword and dodged Ida's spear, ignoring Liu Bei's double swords and allowing them to strike. Sure enough, Liu Bei hesitated for a moment and was able to pierce into Liu Bei's armor, but he was unable to move forward. Taking advantage of Liu Bei's hesitation, Liu Bei broke out of the encirclement and rushed towards Xian. Liu Bei shouted loudly, "Not good." General Guan and General Zhang remained silent and immediately chased after him. Xian didn't panic when he saw Liu Bei rushing towards him, so he turned his horse's head and left. Unfortunately, under Liu Bei's crotch, the red rabbit horse was the divine horse of the world, traveling thousands of miles every day and about to catch up with Xian in an instant. Seeing that Liu Bei was about to throw the Fang Tianhua halberd at Xian's head, suddenly there were shouts from the grass on both sides, causing him to stumble and jump out. Liu Bei was determined to kill Xian, but before he could react, he even stumbled with his men and horses. Sergeant Liu Bei rushed to Liu Bei, first grabbed the Fang Tianhua halberd in Liu Bei's hand, led the red rabbit horse away, and then pushed Liu Bei under the crowd like a man. Liu Bei was about to struggle to get up when Liu, Guan, and Zhang arrived on horseback, wielding swords and spears all at once on Liu Bei's head. Liu Bei was no longer helpless and could only be captured. Zhang Feidao said, "Big brother has a kind heart and almost harmed the little general." Guan Yu also asked beside him, "Why did you show mercy to Liu Bei multiple times?" Liu Bei said, "I'm ashamed. I saw that Liu Bei was a hero in the world and had no grudges against me. I really couldn't bear to harm him, but I almost injured the little general by this fight." Fortunately, the little general had already set up a stumbling rope to protect himself and captured Liu Bei. The little general should remember his first merit in this battle. Xian quickly arched his hand and said, "Liu Bei is invincible, and he also has the help of the red rabbit horse. He only stumbles on horseback in ordinary days. How could Ma Suo capture such a fierce tiger? Tonight, thanks to the Lord and Generals Guan and Zhang besieging him for a long time, it consumed his energy and made him tired, so he was able to capture him in one fell swoop." Liu Bei said, "If you have a word, please listen to it." Liu Bei said, "General, please speak." Xian said, "Liu Bei, if you keep on being petty, you will forget your interests and righteousness. If you make friends with you today and stab him in the back tomorrow, it can be said that you are defenseless. The Lord must not forget about Ding Yuan and Dong Zhuo." Liu Bei said, "I dare not forget." Xian said, "One of these is also. Secondly, if we hadn't prepared early, Xuzhou would have been stolen by Liu Bei and Xiaopei. The Lord's wife, children, and family are still in the city, aren't they all caught in thieves' hands?" Liu Beidao said, "It's not that I don't believe in the little general, but I think about it. If it weren't for me using the Chen palace as a pretext to openly inform the emptiness of the city, would Liu Bei not betray me?" Xian smiled and said, "If Liu Bei were a loyal and righteous person, entrusted by the Lord, he would definitely go all out and defend Xuzhou without losing his heart, and let the chief public security guard against Yuan. How could he have ulterior motives?" Guan Yu nodded and said, "That's right." Liu Bei ran. Xian said again, "Thirdly, Liu Bei has made an agreement with Yuan Shu to attack the rear of our army after obtaining Xuzhou, and will be flanked by Na Jilin." Zhang Fei exclaimed, "It seems that there are no bones left of us." Xian said, "That's right. Therefore, if it's not because the Lord is cruel, it's because Liu Bei is unjust. Please don't doubt it anymore." Liu Bei listened to his words and no longer doubted. Xian said again, "Why don't you take advantage of Liu Bei's new defeat and take Xiaopei in one fell swoop?" Liu Bei asked, "Do you have a clever plan?" Xian said, "I have already made a good plan. You can lead the troops to knock on the border." Originally, while Lu Guanzhang was surrounding Liu Bei, Xian had already asked someone to make way for him and let Gao Shun escape. Fearing that Gao Shun was in a hurry and lost track of the way in the dark, he sent troops to rush behind and ordered Gao Shun to only flee towards Xiaopei. Gao Shun fled to Xiaopei city and saw that Liu Bei couldn't catch up. He quickly called Zhang Liao to open the city gate and enter the city. However, he didn't know that Xin Han had sent soldiers to change into Liu Bei's surrender armor and infiltrated the city with Gao Shun. When Liu Bei came to attack the city, he could serve as an insider. Upon hearing this, Liu Bei was overjoyed and led a large army towards Xiaopei while recruiting and surrendering soldiers. I don't know how Liu Bei took down Xiaopei, but let's hear the next breakdown. Chapter 6. Guan Zhang bravely captures 2 generals. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. But when Liu Bei led his army towards Xiaopei and arrived at the bottom of the city, he shouted, "Please come out and meet the defending general." Zhang Liao and Gao Shun went up to the city and saw that Liu Bei was leading the army. Knowing that Liu Bei must have been defeated, they all secretly thought that something was wrong. Zhang Liao remained silent and asked, "I don't know why Duke Xuande came to Xiaopei." Liu Bei said, "Liu Bei betrayed his promise and attacked Xuzhou, but he has now been captured by me." Gao Shun didn't believe it and shouted, "Don't come to deceive us. General Tianwei is invincible, how can we be easily captured?" Liu Bei ordered people to lead out the Red Rabbit horse and take out the Fang Tianji, saying, "Liu Bei's weapons and mounts are all here. Please ask the 2 generals to identify them." Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, and the soldiers in the city all recognized that it was indeed Liu Bei's property, and were all shocked. As a result, the morale of the army was turbulent. Those who wish to surrender are numerous. Liu Bei said again, "I know that the attack on Xuzhou was carried out by Liu Bei and has nothing to do with the 2 generals. I hope that the 2 generals will soon abandon the darkness and open the city gate, so that the soldiers and the people in the city can avoid the suffering of war." Before Zhang Liao could answer, Gao Shun shouted loudly, "Big-eared thief, don't disturb our army's morale. If you want to enter the city, you must break the city walls, and there is no other way. We, the soldiers in the city, swear to fight against you until the last soldier dies." Zhang Liao asked, "Why is this?" Gao Shun said, "It is said that Liu Bei is a benevolent and righteous gentleman, and I think he is also a cunning person. Otherwise, how could General Fengxian fall for his schemes and even be defeated? He earns us to open the city gates, and when we enter, other soldiers may be spared. When Yuan and I are former generals of Liu Bei, how could he be lenient? Rao. At that time, we will encounter misfortune." Zhang Liao said, "I am not greedy for life, but Xiaopei city is shallow, and the number of soldiers guarding the city is less than 2,000. If Liu Bei attacks the city, we have almost no chance of winning, so why increase casualties? If I surrender outside the city, let Liu Bei handle it and change our way of life. I expect that Liu Bei will ultimately be a benevolent and loving person, and will not make things difficult for you." Gao Shundao said, "General Liu Bei's life and death are unknown, when Yuan must not be anxious. We will make plans after inquiring about General Liu's news." Zhang Liao reluctantly agreed. Suddenly, it was reported that Liu Bei's soldiers had taken advantage of the chaos and infiltrated the city of Xiaopei. At this time, the east and west gates had already been opened. Outside the city, General Guan Yu and General Zhang Fei each led a team of soldiers and horses to invade, but the soldiers in the city had no intention of resisting and surrendered one after another. Gao Shundao said, "Since that's the case, let's go out of the city first and then make plans." So he and Zhang Liao each held their guns and mounted their horses. As there was Liu Bei's army outside the north gate, the 2 of them headed towards the south gate. Unexpectedly, on the way, he encountered 2 generals, Guan and Zhang. Without a word, Zhang Liao confronted Guan Yu and Gao Shun stabbed Zhang Fei, then caught and fought in the city. Zhang Liao is skilled in martial arts and can easily draw with Guan Yu, but is that Gao Shun the enemy of Zhang Fei? After a few rounds of battle, he becomes exhausted, timid, and full of danger. As Zhang Fei thrust his spear, Gao Shun was about to be stabbed through his chest. Zhang Liao watched attentively from the side, vigorously wielding Guan Gong's big sword. He immediately rode his horse to fight and then pushed Zhang Fei's spear open. Guan Yu and Zhang Fei all praised, good martial arts. Gao Shun's face had already turned pale with fear. Zhang Liao turned around and held his spear horizontally in his chest, blocking General Guan and General Zhang. He said to General Gao Shundao, General Gao, hurry up and leave. I will cut off the rear for you. Guan Yu sighed, it's really unfortunate that you have such martial arts skills, such courage, and such loyalty, but have fallen into the thief. Zhang Fei shouted, neither of you can leave. After speaking, he stabbed at Zhang Liao with a spear, and Zhang Liao raised his gun to block him. What a great Zhang Fei, really amazing. As soon as the two weapons intersected, Zhang Fei turned from stabbing to striking and fiercely smashed the spearhead towards Zhang Liao's gun body. With a loud, choking sound, Zhang Liao couldn't grasp the steel gun in his hand and flew out. Zhang Fei didn't wait for Zhang Liao to react, and then stabbed the spear with one hand, hitting Zhang Liao's chest protector. With a bang, but with a dull force, Zhang Liao's chest protective mirror remained intact, but his body flew out like a heavy hammer and fell to the ground. Sergeant Liu Bei rushed forward and bound Zhang Liao. Looking at Gao Shun again, he had already ridden his horse and fled dozens of steps away, so Zhang Fichuo held his spear in his hand and threw it forcefully. The spear roared away, piercing the horse under Gao Shun's crotch and nailing it to the ground. Gao Shun was also overturned to the ground. When he was about to run again, he turned his head and saw that Zhang Liao had already been captured. Knowing that it was extremely difficult to escape today, he stopped and loudly said, since when Yuan has been captured, I am not alone. I am willing to be killed. Sergeant Liu Bei approached and tied him up. Guan Yu and Zhang Fei praised, you're also a hero. Originally, Guan Yu cherished Zhang Liao's martial arts skills and couldn't bear to fight with Zhang Fei. It is also known that with Zhang Fei's martial prowess and the current situation, Zhang Liao and Gao Shun are bound to be captured. Therefore, with his sword drawn, let's see how his third brother Zhang Fei successfully captures the second general. The remaining soldiers of Lu Bu saw that Zhang Liao and Gao Shun had been captured and surrendered one after another, and Xiaopei was determined. General Guan and General Zhang opened the city gate, welcomed Liu Bei, and recruited and surrendered soldiers to appease the people without mentioning it. After entering the city, Liu Bei led Guan, Zhang, and Xian Han to sit in the military camp in the city, summoning the soldiers to bring up a group of people they had captured. Firstly, Lu Bu was tied up with ropes and pushed by soldiers. Lu Bu exclaimed, bound too tightly, beg for mercy. Liu Bei said, the divine power of Fengxian is invincible, and it is difficult to be prepared for forgiveness. Lu Bu also said, now that Bu has been captured by Xuande Gong, there is no other choice but to serve as his deputy and jointly conquer the world. Why worry about the world being uncertain? Liu Bei said, being prepared for good fortune is shallow, and it may be difficult to obtain Fengxian's help. He then ordered someone to push Lu Bu out and hang him to death. Liu Bu exclaimed, attacking Xuzhou is actually a plan of the Chen palace, not my wish. Xuande Mingcha. This statement angered a person next to him, and he angrily cursed, Liu Bu Pifu. You did not listen to Mr. Gongtai's words and suffered this disaster. Now you are blaming him instead, which is really shameless. If you die this time, you will die. How dare you have it? I don't know who exactly cursed LV Bu, but let me explain it in the next section. Chapter 7. Liu Bei's Great Righteousness in Receiving Literature. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moreover, Liu Bu shouted loudly, intending to blame Chen Gong for the crime of attacking Xuzhou at night. When Zhang Liao was by his side, he was furious and cursed, LV Bu Pifu, you didn't listen to Mr. Gongtai's words and instead suffered from his misfortune. What kind of face are you now barking loudly here? If you die, you will die. How can you fear it? Liu Bei ordered the swordsman to bring Zhang Liao along. Zhang Liao stood tall with his head held high and said, I don't know who I am, but I mistakenly followed my master. I have lost today, let alone any other requests. Please go to my death's ear. Liu Bei and others secretly praised them upon hearing this. So Liu Bei stood up and personally released his bonds, saying to Zhang Liao, I am a loyal and righteous person. Why not work with Bei to support the Han dynasty and serve the court? Zhang Liao hesitated and pondered. Liu Bei arched his hand and said, if you think preparation is difficult to achieve great things and want to make other plans, please go on your own. The mountains are high and the waters are far away, and I will see you again in the future. Seeing Liu Bei's humility, courtesy, and sincerity, Zhang Liao no longer hesitated and bowed, saying, thank you for General's kindness. I am willing to surrender. Liu Bei was overjoyed and quickly helped Zhang Liao up. Zhang Liao said again, I hope General Su can handle two things. Liu Bei said, one is far away, but it doesn't matter. Zhang Liao said, firstly, I hope General Rong can collect the body of LV Bu and bury him. Liu Bei said, although the heroes of LV Bu sure have been defeated by Bei, they dare not be taken lightly. They will be buried generously, and when Yuan should not worry. Zhang Liao thanked him and said, the family of LV Bu is still in Xiaopei city. I hope General will treat them well. Liu Bei said, I want to ask when Yuan to continue to guard Xiaopei while also taking care of the small family of Fengxian. Zhang Liao bowed and said, the newly surrendered general dare not defend the city alone. Please be the vanguard of the general, break through mountains and waters, and avoid arrows and stones. Liu Bei solemnly said, in no time will the army of Ling invade. Only by guarding Xiaopei from Wen Yuan can Xuzhou be safe. Please do not refuse. Zhang Liao was puzzled and asked, since we know the enemy is approaching, why don't you ask Yunchang and Ida to guard it? Xuande laughed and said, Wen Yuan will know then. The swordsman once again held on to Gao Shun, and Liu Bei ordered someone to untie him. He said, today, Wen has surrendered far away, so what will General Gao do? Gao Shun turned his head and remained silent. Zhang Liao said on the sidelines, General Fengxian has been defeated. Why don't General Gao keep a useful position, make contributions, report to the emperor, and report to his parents? Gao followed his words and surrendered. Liu Bei ordered Gao Shun and Zhang Liao to jointly guard Xiaopei. Liu Bei ordered someone to invite Chen Gong. After Chen Gong arrived in the army, Liu Bei followed Xian Han's plan and ordered General Guan and General Zhang to lead their troops back to Xuzhou, waiting in ambushes on both sides outside the city. He ordered Xian Han to lead a large army and quietly set up an ambush near Xiaopei. Liu Bei himself and Chen Gong led 5,000 men and horses to continue advancing toward Sichuan, thinking they were suspicious soldiers, which made Ling dare not move lightly. Chen Gong was known to have anomalies in the military, but he was closely monitored by Liu Bei's men, unable to move lightly, and struggling with no countermeasures. On this day, Liu Bei suddenly said to Chen Gong, there has been a change in Xuzhou and Xiaopei. I will return quickly. Sir, you can arrive later. After that, he sent dozens of soldiers to surround Chen Gong and slowly turn towards Xiaopei. Another general was dispatched with 5,000 suspected soldiers to continue southward, shouting and marching with flags scattered all over to confuse Ling. And he ordered, if there is an attack from Ling, do not engage in battle. Quickly return to Xuzhou. All arrangements were made, and Liu Bei led several cavalry to catch up with the army of Xian Han and lay in ambush outside the city of Xiaopei. Afterwards, as Xian Han said, Liu Bu, wolf with ambition, launched a night attack on Xuzhou, but was captured instead. Speaking of Chen Gong, he was brought to Liu Bei and cursed loudly, big-eared thief, seemingly loyal in appearance, but actually cunning. It can be said that great treachery is like loyalty, great falsehood is like truth, truly despicable. Liu Bei and Xian Han were both surprised, and Zhang Fei angrily cursed, rude fellow. Guan Yu was also indignant. Liu Bei asked, General Fengxian attacked Xuzhou first, why did you scold me instead? Chen Gong said, hypocritical villains, why pretend? You have set up many strategies, only waiting for General Feng Xian to fall into the trap on your own. It's a pity that I found out too late and harmed Feng Xian's life. Liu Bei felt ashamed and speechless, and Xian Han said on the side, I heard that Mr. Wen had told General Lv not to attack the city rashly, but to wait until the Yuan and Liu armies started fighting before taking any action. If General Lv followed Mr. S' advice, he would not be defeated. Chen Gong said, I believe you must be that design. The person is indeed a young hero with a good plan. Bringing me into the army prevents me from communicating with Feng Xian. Do you dare to say that Feng Xian did not follow my plan and launched an attack recklessly, which was not in your calculation? Xian Han remained silent, while Guan Gong beside him smiled and said, only allow you to have good plans, and not allow me to use clever ones. What's the point? Zhang Fei also exclaimed, that's right. I lost the battle plan to my little general, why don't you accept it? What's the point of cursing? Chen Gong said, stop it. If you lose, you lose. I have no other words, but I hope to die. Liu Bei hurriedly said, sir, there's no need for that. Xian Han also said, I have heard that Mr. Chao was once abandoned due to his cruel and inhumane behavior. My lord, Duke Xuande, is most benevolent and loves the people, and also has great ambitions. Why don't you work with us? Chen Gong said, I first abandoned Cao Cao, and now Feng Xian died due to a certain plan. What kind of face does he still have in the world? He only wants to die. Bei stood up and held the hand of Chen Gong, saying, Mr. Xuande is wise and resourceful, just to support the Han family and ensure the peace of the world. Why not live a life? If you don't want to work with me, please go, money, food, horses, and one should be prepared. My family is small and I am prepared to provide for you in Xuzhou. If you have something to rely on in the future, you can come and take it from me. Chen Gong saw Liu Bei's sincere words and let out a long sigh, saying, Xuande Gong is indeed benevolent and righteous. Just now, I intentionally cursed him for killing someone. I didn't expect Gong not to be angry, but to treat me with sincerity. I am really ashamed. Liu Bei said happily, since that's the case, would you be willing to help me? Chen Gong shook his head and said a sentence. I don't know exactly what Chen Gong said, and what life and death will be like. Let's listen to the next chapter to break it down. Chapter 8. Chen Gong's generous invitation to die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Speaking of Liu Bei's repeated sincere invitations, Chen Gong only shook his head and said, Duke Xuande is a ruler of benevolence and righteousness, with the wisdom of Xian Han and the courage of Guan. Why worry about the affairs of the world? I am actually an incompetent person. I cannot kill the Chao bandits first, and my intelligence cannot help Liu Bu in the wilderness. What is the use of Duke Xuande keeping me, and what is the face of me to survive in the world? Only one dead ear. Zhang Liao and Gao Shun also advised Chen Gong, and Chen Gong said to the two generals, Duke Xuande is actually the master of business. The two generals can cause trouble well, and they will be able to follow Xuande in the future. Gong Quang supported the Han dynasty and pacified the world. He was appointed as a marquis in the general, shining brightly on his clan, and could be treated with sincerity. His heart was as dead as ashes, so he bid farewell to the two generals. Liu Bei advised him again, and Chen Gong said, Xuande, why bother with my mother? I have made up my mind, so there is no need to persuade him again. If you cannot bear to take action, use your sword, and someone will commit suicide on the spot. Seeing Chen Gong's firm words, Liu Bei stopped persuading him and ordered the swordsman to use the fast knife to cut him off, so that he would suffer less pain. After Chen Gong's death, Liu Bei couldn't help but shed tears and felt deeply sorry. Sui ordered people to collect the bodies of Chen Gong and Lv Bu, both of whom were buried outside the city of Xuzhou. It is admirable that Lv Bu, the world's first divine general, and Chen Gong, the most loyal and resourceful, were defeated by Liu Bei and Xian in the first battle and died in the city of Xiaopei. Liu Bei ordered someone to relocate the Chen palace family to Xuzhou, and left the family of Lv in Xiaopei, all of whom were well settled and should not be neglected. Xian said, "The matter with Xiaopei has been settled. Please return to Xuzhou as soon as possible, and summon the suspected soldiers on the front line and defend the city, waiting for the army led by Ling." Liu Bei asked, "How did you know that Ling will lead an attack?" Xian smiled and said, "The army stationed in Shui has never fought a single battle, and has not achieved any success, but has consumed a lot of money and food. How would you be willing to stop?" Liu Bei then said, ordering Zhang Liao and Gao Shun to lead the army to defend Xiaopei, and led the army to return to Xuzhou without mentioning it, along with generals Xian, Guan, and Zhang. Speaking of that, Ling led a 100,000-strong army to settle in Shui. When he saw Liu Bei's army waving flags everywhere and shouting day and night, he didn't know it's true or false. He also took pictures of Guan and Zhang Weiming, but didn't dare to move lightly. Suddenly, one day, Ling was shocked to see that Liu Bei's army had retreated overnight and there was nothing left in the camp. Busily sending troops to inquire, it was discovered that Lv had launched a night attack on Xuzhou and was annihilated by Liu Bei in one fell swoop. Now Liu Bei ordered the surrendering generals Zhang Liao and Gao Shun to guard Xiaopei and led his army back to Xuzhou. Ling wanted to take advantage of the recent downfall of Liu and the turmoil in Xuzhou, and rose up to attack them. However, he was afraid that it would be difficult to achieve success, so he asked his deputy general Sun Zheng for advice. Sun Jingdao said, "Liu Bei is nothing but a weaver of mats and shoes. Why should we be afraid? He has already dug his own grave, and the general only needs to lead his troops to attack Xuzhou, so he can definitely come down in one fell swoop." Ling hurriedly said, "Please explain it in detail." Sun Jingdao said, that Zhang Liao and Gao Shun were both loyal generals of Lv. But now Liu Bei has ordered them to guard Xiaopei alone. Shouldn't they dig their own grave? The general can write a letter to Zhang Liao and Gao Shun, teaching them to mobilize Xiaopei's troops and join us in fighting Xuzhou to repay Lv. General Bu's enmity, the two of them will gladly promise. Ling was overjoyed and wrote a letter, sending someone to Xiaopei. Moreover, when Zhang Liao was in Xiaopei, one day a messenger sent a letter from Ling. Zhang Liaozhan believed and read it, but saw the above letter. "I heard that Liu Bei had conspired to lure General Lv out of the city and attack him, causing General Lv's death. Sad, painful. Now I am planning to launch an attack on Xuzhou, vowing to kill the great ear thief and avenge General Lv. I hope General Zhang and General Gao will use all the troops of Xiaopei to help him, in the name of not betraying loyalty and righteousness. After the incident is completed, General Liu will receive a reward." After reading the letter, Zhang Liao pondered for a moment and learned the profound meaning of Liu Bei leaving him and Gao Shun to guard Xiaopei. He then went to Gao Shun's mansion to express his feelings through the letter. Asking, "What should we do now?" Gao Shundao said, "We, Liu Bei, were once in a difficult situation and launched an attack on our backs. Isn't it not disrespectful to the people of the world? Besides, Yuan Shu has a shallow vision and a rebellious heart, and is a common enemy of the world. He will soon be destroyed by others. However, Duke Xuande treats people with sincerity and benevolence, and will surely achieve great success in the future. Why should we abandon the bright and return to the dark?" Ling's words are truly ridiculous. Zhang Liao said, "The public opinion is just what I want. Why don't we just follow the plan and help Duke Xuande annex the troops and horses of Ling?" Gao Shun asked, "What's the clever plan? Please let Yuan know." Zhang Liao said, "If we refuse openly, Ling will be afraid to retreat. If we promise directly, we will be afraid of their suspicion. If we write a letter urging them to only advance, if they win, we will send troops to help them attack Liu. If they lose, we will not send troops to help Liu attack them. They will be pleased to send troops upon hearing this. We can then send troops to attack them. Unexpectedly, if we were to engage in a pincer attack with Duke Xuande, we would surely defeat Ling and swallow his troops. Gao Xuanxi said, "Indeed, there is a clever plan. Please revise the book immediately." After completing the revision, Gao Shun read it and summarized, "We have just attached Liu Bei and attacked him with our backs. If we win, it will be good. If we cannot win, we will not be laughed at by the people of the world. Then there will be no place for us to stay in the world anymore. I think that the general only needs to send troops to attack Xuzhou and let us judge the situation. If the general wins, we will use all the troops of Xiaopei to attack Liu. If the general is defeated, we will not send troops to assist Liu. The general has returned to Huaiyin, but we are still guarding Xiaopei. It seems that both the general and we are invincible, isn't it wonderful? Please make a decision, General." Zhang Liao and Gao Shun sent envoys to deliver the letter to Ling. After Ling finished reading it, he handed it to Sun Zhang and asked, "If Zhang Liao and Gao Shun don't want to send troops together, what can they do?" Sun Zhang calmly said a sentence. "I don't know what Sun Zhang is up to, and whether Ling will send troops to attack Xuzhou. Let's hear about it in the next chapter." Chapter 9. Zhang Liao's plan to scam Ling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Speaking of which, Sun Zhang remained calm and composed, saying, "If Zhang and Gao air generals generously agree, we should be wary of deceit and fear that they will turn around and attack our army with Liu Bei. However, their hesitation and indecisiveness indicate that they have indeed been tempted. The general only focuses on attacking the city, and it is expected that our army will have a slight advantage. Zhang and Gao air will definitely use Xiaopei's troops to come and help." Seeing Ling still hesitating, Sun Zhang said, "If the general still hesitates, you can write another letter to inform Zhang and Gao air generals, regardless of whether they can capture Xuzhou. As long as two people send troops to assist me, they will all report to the highway general and give more rewards to them." Ling Ran said, and then he wrote a letter to Zhang and the second general in high school. Not long after receiving a reply from the second general, he said, "It seems that in the future, we will all rely on the general. The general is only responsible for attacking the city, and we will send troops to help. We only hope to break through Xuzhou in one fell swoop, kill the rebels, seek revenge for the former general, and share the worries of the highway general." Ling was overjoyed and then mobilized 100,000-strong army, rushing towards Xuzhou to kill them. The news spread to Xuzhou, causing panic among the Chinese military in the city. Liu Bei summoned generals such as Huaiyin, Guan, and Zhang to the lobby for discussion. An old minister from Xuzhou said, "General Yuan Ling, led a 100,000-strong army to kill the general. Xuzhou has few soldiers, so what should we do?" There were also people who said, "The former Xuande Duke led his troops to confront Ling, but before a single battle, he had a civil war with Lvbu, causing significant losses to Xuzhou and Xiaopei. Now that Xuzhou has lost the strong support of Lvbu, it is difficult to resist the army of Ling." General Guan and Zhang both looked angry upon hearing this. Huaiyin turned around and said to the various civil and military officials, "There are 3 ways for anyone to win in battle. 1 is to win the way, 2 is to win the general, and 3 is to win the strategy. The Lord is generous, benevolent, loyal, and loving to the people. Although Xuzhou has few soldiers, everyone is united in one heart, which is called the way. Although Yuan has 4 generations and 3 dukes, he has always had a rebellious heart, and the whole world is angry, which is called the way. The Lord uses the way to fight against the way, how can there be a reason to be invincible? This is the way. Under the Lord's command, General Yun Chang and General Ida all have the courage of 10,000 men who are not worthy of righteousness. Zhang Liao and General Gao Shun are 2 generals. He is also skilled in martial arts and proficient in military law, and that Ji Ling, with only the bravery of a man, is he not the enemy of Yun Chang, Ida, Zhang Liao, and Gao Shun? This is a general victory. The Lord has already planned and set up a trap for the heavens and earth, but if Ji Ling does not come, he will be caught by the Lord's clever plan. This is a plan to win. With these 3 victories, Ji Ling is nothing but a masterpiece among the old officials in Xuzhou. There was also a humanitarian person who said, I have heard that Zhang Liao and Gao Shun, the 2 generals, have close correspondence with Ji Ling. They are discussing to betray Liu and join forces with Yuan to avenge Lv Bu in Xuzhou. Liu Bei shouted sternly, Zhang Liao and Gao Shun, the 2 generals, are loyal and will not betray me again. You must not listen to slander. Xian Han said, it doesn't matter. When Ji Ling's army arrives, fight against one of them, and we will know. So Liu, Guan, Zhang, and Xian Han each went to prepare, only waiting for Ji Ling's arrival. In no time, the army of Ji Ling had arrived in Xuzhou, set up camps outside the city, and led troops to the bottom of the city. Liu Bei then ordered 10,000 soldiers and led them out of the city with generals such as Xian Han, Guan, and Zhang. When the 2 armies were facing each other, Liu Bei asked, why did General lead the army to invade our city? Ji Ling scolded, Liu Bei, the village master, why did he pretend? It was originally your ancestors who invaded our territory, but now I am leading troops to avenge General Fengxian. Liu Bei said, Liu Bu took advantage of Bei's departure to steal our city, but he had to be destroyed. Now that Xuzhou has been established, Beijing intends to receive a decree from the emperor to punish the rebels who did not submit to him and continue to march toward Sichuan. Unexpectedly, the general will send sheep to the tiger's mouth first. Turning his head, he said, who are the 2 wise brothers, Guan and Zhang? Can you take down this thief with me? Ji Ling was furious when he heard this and shouted loudly, clapping his horse and lifting his sword, and directly took Liu Bei. Guan Yu also shouted, don't be too brave. He dismounted and fought against Ji Ling. At the beginning, Guan Yu Jinjiling was tall and burly, with long beards and heavy armor, and a formidable aura. He held a 3-pointed sword in his hand, which seemed very heavy, so he dared not underestimate the enemy and put on a defensive posture, hoping to remain undefeated. Ji Ling only realized that Guan Yu's martial arts were mediocre, so he gathered his energy and flew the 3-pointed knives up and down, igniting a murderous aura. Guan Gong remained calm and unhurried, raising his sword to block the vertical grid horizontally. When he saw the move, he dismantled it to explore the reality of the spirit. Seeing Guan Yu calmly motionless like a mountain, attacking for more than 10 rounds without taking any advantage, Ji Ling couldn't help but feel secretly shocked. After 10 or so, Guan Yu realized that Ji Ling was not inferior. With his eyes wide open, he was shining brightly and said, it's ridiculous. How dare you offend Xuzhou with such martial arts? He then turned defense to attack and frequently used killing techniques. Ji Lingdun had an intuition that Guan Gong's big sword was moving in front of him like a green dragon, with gusts of strong wind rushing towards his face. He didn't notice that his sweat was standing on end and cold sweat was streaming down his face. His left and right branches were clumsy, feeling extremely embarrassed. After reluctantly parrying for more than 10 rounds, he finally felt defeated and shouted, "Stop!" Guan Yu was stunned for a moment, but before he could react, Ji Ling had already turned his horse's head and returned to the formation. Guan Yu restrained his horse with a horizontal sword and stood in front of the formation waiting for him. Xian Han shouted in the formation, when the 2 armies are at war, there is no reason for them to take a break. General Guan just needs to call Ji Ling to fight. Zhang Fei also shouted, that's right. If Ji Ling dares not come to fight, we can cover it up. Ji Ling heard this and had no choice but to send his deputy general Sun Jing to fight. Guan Yu was displeased and saw that Sun Jing was thin and small. He said, go back now and only teach that Ji Ling to come out and fight against Guan. Sun Zhang, unaware of the vastness of the world, said, I am an unknown general. How can I be an enemy of General Ji Ling and fight against him for 300 rounds? Guan Yu was furious and directly took Sun Zhang. I don't know how Sun Zhang's life is, but let me explain it in the next chapter. Chapter 10. The two armies encounter Ji Ling and suffer a great defeat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Speaking of Sun Zhang, who was unaware of the vastness of heaven and earth, Guan Yu said, I am an unknown general. Are you an enemy of General Ji Ling? Let's fight with someone for 300 rounds first. Guan Yu was furious and raised his sword, slapping his horse, and directly took Sun Zhang. Handing over the horse is only one piece, and Sun Zhang has been chopped off under the horse. Upon seeing it, the army of Ji Ling turned pale. Liu Bei waved his sword and ordered the army to cover it up. Zhang Fei rode first, dressed in black robes and armor, with a black spear under his crotch, like a black dragon, straight into the Ji spirit formation. The 8-foot-long snake spear was about to dance, and it could be described as a storm, a mountain collapse, and earth shattering. Soldier Ji Ling fell like a leek waiting to be cut. Guan Yu didn't dare to fall behind, so he waved his green dragon Yenhua blade and killed him in the Ji Ling formation. I saw Guan Gong's green robe fluttering, his long beard fluttering, his eyes slightly open, and his murderous aura chilling, like a heavenly god entering an uninhabited realm, forcing the army of Ji Ling to retreat in succession. Sergeant Liu Bei saw the imposing presence of General Guan and General Zhang, and his confidence and morale immediately increased. He all worked hard to move forward. 10,000 people and horses fell and killed, causing Ji Ling's 100,000 strong army to retreat step by step. Liu Bei was afraid that it would be difficult to win for a while, so he wanted to wield his sword and enter the battle, but was stopped by Xian. The victory or defeat is only in an instant. Why should the Lord use his body of 10,000 gold to go to dangerous places? It's not like watching the generals perform meritorious deeds here. Liu Bei nodded and said yes. Speaking of that Ji Ling, he commanded the soldiers to fight while sending people to inquire about the movements of Zhang Liao and Gao Shun in Xiaopei city. Suddenly, a report came, and a group of people and horses from the rear attacked, which was the army of Xiaopei led by Zhang Liao and Gao Shun. The army of Ji Ling was sandwiched between front and back, causing a great chaos. They were thrown upside down and trampled on each other, resulting in heavy casualties. Ji Lingji knew that the defeat had been decided, and sighed, Sun Zhang missed me. He wanted to lead his army to retreat, but was unexpectedly killed by Zhang Fei. The two generals fought together, and Ji Ling had no desire to fight. He was only about to leave, but he was surrounded by Zhang Fei's snake spear, unable to leave. Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Fei let out a loud shout and stabbed Ji Ling off the horse. The Yuan army immediately disintegrated and countless surrendered. General Guan and General Zhang, along with Zhang Liao and General Gao Shun, reorganized their troops, recruited and surrendered troops, and returned to Xuzhou to report to Liu Bei. Liu Bei was overjoyed and held a grand banquet to reward the soldiers. Liu Bei said to Zhang Liao and Gao Shundao, the two generals launched a surprise attack on the rear of Ji Ling, which led our army to a great victory. We should remember our first merit. Zhang and Gao's second generals bowed and said, it's all up to the Lord to use people without doubt and plan ahead. We can only follow the trend and dare not be greedy for the first merit. Moreover, General Yun Chang and General Ida are invincible, leading 10,000 soldiers to confront Ji Ling's 100,000 army head-on. Only then can we have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Xian said, the two generals don't need to be too humble, if they cannot see the depth of the Lord's employment internally. The key to a complete victory in this battle is that we cannot grasp the indecisiveness of Ji Ling's military tactics from outside. How can our army achieve a great victory? Especially with just 2 letters, we can lure Ji Ling's troops deep, allowing our army to flank and completely annihilate Ji Ling. Our army has collected tens of thousands of troops, surrendered tens of thousands of soldiers, seized countless money, food, weapons, and horses, and Xuzhou's strength has greatly increased. Liu Bei sighed. Xuzhou is a battlefield surrounded by great powers and coveted by feudal lords. Without your help, how can we settle here? Thank you all, and I hope you all can work together with Bei, take Xuzhou as the foundation, clean up the interior, and support the Han dynasty. The generals all raised their glasses and said, "May we unite with the Lord, clear the interior, and support the Han family." Liu Bei and the generals drank happily until the end of the day without mentioning it. In a few days, the generals had finished rectifying their troops, and Liu Bei assigned his generals to guard the cities. Xian Han said to Liu Beidao, "You can submit a letter to the court and wait until the warm spring of the following year to fight against Yuan Shu, in order to gain time, recuperate soldiers, and pacify the people." Liu Beiran's words were written in a letter to Emperor Xian, saying, "Recently, Xuzhou was first affected by the internal turmoil of Lvbu, and later by the attack of Ling. The soldiers, horses, money, and food suffered a lot. The people suffered greatly from military disasters and suffered unbearable hardships. It is now in the middle of winter, and it is not advisable to use military force. We earnestly request your majesty that Xuzhou withdraw its troops and rest first, and rest with the people. When it is warm spring of next year, with abundant military resources, we will launch another attack on Sichuan. Defeat Yuan Shu, in order not to betray the emperor's orders. I hope the emperor's approval." After reading the book in Shudu, Cao Cao smiled and said, "We first captured the army of Lvbu, then swallowed the army of Ling, and also obtained countless money, grain, and weapons. On the other hand, we have suffered a lot of losses. Why did Xuande once be treacherous like this?" Counselor Chengyu said, "If we let this person cultivate a good climate, it will be a great calamity for our lord." Counselor Sunyu said, "If King Liu Bei orders us to follow, it may not be a great calamity. On the contrary, it is a sharp sword that can be used by our lord and the emperor to pacify the world. Our lord can make good use of it." Reward to help Liu Bei rest and recuperate. Speaking of Yuan Shu, upon hearing that Ling's 100,000 strong army had been devoured by Liu Bei, he couldn't help but be furious and wanted to launch a full-scale attack on Xuzhou from Huaiyin. Master Bo Yanxiang advised, "Our army has suffered a new defeat and our morale is uncertain. In addition, with the approaching winter, it is not conducive to military deployment. It is better to wait until the beginning of next spring to make further calculations." Yuan Shu pondered and hesitated before hearing the arrival of Sun Su's envoy. I don't know why the envoy Sun Su came, but I will explain it in the next chapter.